this is Heather from Mrs Mactivity. Wanted to do another video today, feeling a little bit less tired than my last one. That was at the end of term, and I was feeling pretty broken, to be honest, but it was so lovely to get all the messages of support from other teachers out there who were also pretty shattered, and also a lot of questions about this imposter syndrome feeling and discussions around why that is and how to overcome it. So I just wanted to do a quick video today just to talk about my experiences and to give you some tips and things I've learned along the way as well, being in my 40s now. I guess one of the things that I first felt when I was a teacher is I remember getting my very first class in year 4 and collecting them from the playground and thinking, I can't believe somebody's going to trust me with these children. And that was, I think, my very, very first experience of feeling like an imposter. And I kept feeling like I was going to get found out and panicking that Ofsted were going to come in and inspect, come and observe a lesson and figure out I was a terrible teacher, or a parent was going to make a complaint that I was, incapable and incompetent and all those things. And I actually remember going one day to hand something in that I assumed that everybody else had, I think, some data or something. I assumed that all of the teachers were on top of. And I was the only person who did it. And I think from that moment I realised that a lot of people sort of nod and smile in staff meetings and sort of make out that they're on top of things, and actually they're not. They're faking it, I guess. And there's a saying, isn't there, fake it till you make it. And I really, really believe in that, because I honestly believe from my experience that a lot of people are not faking it, but sort of appearing that they're doing more than they are, which has its own, I guess, downsides to it. But yeah, and I think I started to realise at that point that I wasn't the only one feeling like an imposter, and maybe it wasn't that bad after all, and there wasn't going to be this moment where I was sort of found out for being terrible and not knowing what I was doing. And I never accepted that actually, as an NQT, I wasn't supposed to know what I was doing. Like, that's okay. It's all right to not know, and it's okay to ask questions. And it's about having the right support and people around you that you feel you can trust and that won't sort of, lose it if you ask what perhaps they consider a silly question. There are no silly questions. They're just people who are just intolerant and rude. But knowing that there's a name for this feeling that, you shouldn't be there and that it's been a mistake and you've only been hired because there weren't any other good candidates. I mean, I got 2 jobs on one day and I still couldn't accept that I should be there. I just kept thinking, they made a mistake, or someone else has, cancelled or something like that. I never could accept that it was because I was actually quite a good candidate, which is ridiculous. I think one of the things I've learned to do is try to separate sort of reality from what's in here, because they're not always that closely linked. So if you're feeling that, I'm a really bad teacher, I don't know what I'm doing, look for the evidence. Is there any evidence that that's true? Like, try and be really rational about it. Maybe you have had a bad observation. So what? I've had loads of bad observations, but I've had loads of good ones too. And try to, balance out the fact that it can't possibly be as bad as you think it is, because otherwise you wouldn't be there in the first place. You wouldn't have passed your PGCE, or you wouldn't have passed your BEd or whatever. Nobody would have given you a job if you were that terrible. So, it's difficult, isn't it? I guess the difficulty arises if you can't get a job. But again, just try and use things as a positive. If you're having to work for agency, do agency work or supply or whatever, learn as much as you can and figure out what kind of school you want to be in, because actually that's you in a good position to be really choosy and choose a school that's right for you. So rather than thinking, it's terrible, I'm a no-hoper, nobody wants me, just try to have like a growth mindset about it. What can I learn from this, rather than seeing it as in a pessimistic way. And I think, there are times when, I was saying this to my friend Jane a few months ago, what if it's not imposter syndrome? What if I am actually terrible? But nobody's terrible at everything. Like, maybe you're not a brilliant maths teacher, but you're really good at empathising with others, or being a supportive co-worker, or looking out for SEN children. It's not possible that you are absolutely terrible at every single aspect of your job. Yes, sure, there's things you can work on, but you can do something about that. There are ways of improving if you get the right support and the right training, and that's not just down to you, that's down to your school and your colleagues to support you in those things that you're not so strong at as well. That's really important. Accept the positives and accentuate them. Reward yourself. So if something goes well, you get a good observation, you know what? Go to Oasis and buy yourself a new top, or, buy yourself a new football, whatever you're into, buy yourself a glass of champagne. I like champagne. Just, it's like if a child does, if my son gets a good school report, I give him a tenner. Why not do the same for yourself? So you're positively reinforcing when you've done well. And that's makes you more likely to remember when you've done something well, rather than remembering all the bad times, because we are more likely, I think, especially as intelligent people, I reckon, are more likely to remember the negatives for some reason. I guess because they think it's going to help them improve, but it really doesn't. So yeah, I think the other thing I'd always encourage as well is to challenge. Like, just because you're new doesn't mean you don't know anything. And if you feel that there's something going on in your school that's a total waste of time and is not benefiting the children or the staff, say something. Like, if you feel that it's a safe space, obviously, say something, and actually people might respect you more for that. And it might make you feel a little bit less like an imposter, as you'll feel more of a part of the staff and, you know, someone who has a voice, because there's nothing worse than feeling you don't have a voice as well. Visualize. So if you've got an observation, I used to absolutely panic every time I had an observation. I don't know why, it's ridiculous. Try to change your mindset. Visualize success in an observation, what that would look like. And don't start panicking about, oh my God, I'm going to get found out. Start thinking, actually, it's an opportunity to show off how good you are and to develop and learn as a teacher and to improve. Just change your mindset, because it can be really, really powerful. And then the last thing to say is, I don't know if I 100% agree with this, but if you act like you know what you're doing, then you will start to believe that you know, you're confident. It's almost like you're acting as a confident person. I sometimes think about one of my friend's sisters. As a teenager, I used to think, oh, really had a head screwed on. And sometimes if I'm in a difficult spot, I think, what would Catherine do in this situation? And I'd almost like put myself in her shoes. And then it makes me feel more, you know, stronger and I can do it. And I also have, sometimes if I'm faced with something really challenging, I think, what would strong Heather do on a really strong day when I'm feeling really positive? How would she deal with this situation? And I find that really, really beneficial, because obviously everyone has strong and weak days, don't they, where you just feel beaten and broken. So if you're facing something really difficult, like a parent's complaining or a child's behaviour is really challenging you, just almost act like your best self in that moment, and obviously later you can reflect and try to recover. But these are all, you know, things that you will learn along the way, and everyone will have their own ways of dealing with things. And one of my friends commented on when I posted the last video, showing her about having a friend at school that you can laugh with and see the funny side of things, because you have to, because if you can't, then it's just not worth doing. If you're just going to be miserable all the time and just catastrophize and feel very anxious and like your whole life is just, you're in this vicious cycle of anxiety and sleep deprivation and exhaustion and stuff, it's not possible to carry on. You will become very ill. But if you've got a friend that you can offload to at school, another teacher or a TA, it will just make such a difference. And I think it's not just about moaning, it's about support and getting their opinion on things and having someone to back you up, especially in staff meetings. So anyway, there's just some of my ideas. Again, like I said last time, if you want to message me or you need support or you've got anything you'd like to say about this, I'm really happy to take DMs or messages and try to help as best I can. I really enjoy helping people. That's why we run the website, get a lot of pleasure out of that. So anyway, speak soon. Bye.